So when the slave trade started going around, you think the Moors weren't trying to jump a ship in the 1600s, trying to get to, New Orleans and Virginia every once in a while. They realized they couldn't go back to Virginia for obvious reasons. So they would start conversing with the Dutch, who also had a certain amount of slaves, but eventually they shut that shit down. Um, and they had New York for a little while. They never really went to Massachusetts. You know what I mean? They did try to hit up Canada though. True story. But that didn't really work out too well. I don't know why. Actually, I think they did stay up there for a little while, but still. Um, a lot of places down south wasn't connecting. A lot of spots near Mexico was not connecting. Um, they managed to stay around the Caribbean for a little bit, but it was only on like the maroon countries, and they would get jacked sometimes. And there used to be these big wars between the Moors and the pirates, and a lot of times the pirates had to deal with the Moors who were traveling down there, and they got to meet the people of India from the East Indian Company. They met then. Now, beforehand, that's the first time we introduced India in this shit, right? They met them then. Before then, they had like all this building and stuff, but the Indians don't try. This is my issue with that. The Indians, they got their own shit. They got their own shit that's just about as influential as ours because of the idea of karma, which is a very old universal thing. They also had the stars constellation shit going on, but they had a lot of like four-arm, five-arm legged motherfuckers that some of them were good, some of them were bad. You can't put these in the same boat with Kush. They might be related though. Don't get me wrong. We might be related. You know what I'm saying? The Kushites would have probably looked like them. I'm not gonna lie about that. But you can't be using that as a scapegoat. You know what I mean? Like the fucking India. We try to make them us, and we're a whole nother. There's a whole nother breed of niggas. You know what I mean? They could roll with us if they can. Hindu was pretty good. Buddhism was even better. But they decide a lot of them decided to be Muslim. You know what I'm saying? Where is that coming from? For some reason they dug that. But that's when they met, and they took a lot of stuff, and they took some of that engineering with them. They learned a couple things, and they took that back to them. Some of them ended up staying, and with the Maroons and stuff because they had nowhere else to go. They was like, fuck it, we gonna chill in Guyana, Trinidad, Bahamas, Cuba, and what was another one? Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? They just said, fuck it, we gonna chill here. And that's where that connection started, all in the West Indies. I mean, and they call it the West Indians because, like, here's where you can fuck with that. The science behind that is now when you call them West Indians, the reason why they call them West Indians is because of the Indians that were there. There's actually Africans that lives there that are way bigger in number. I don't know about Guyana, but it's a whole nother thing. They're pretty way bigger in number. You know what I mean? And yeah, some of them call it Caribbean. You know what I mean? Some of them call themselves Caribbean. Call yourself whatever you want. You know what I mean? Fuck it. But because there's a lot of that Indians that are there that are like straight up. I'm Caribbean, man. You know what I mean, man? You know what I mean? Moors. Because they knew about the pirates. They knew that because this is what they're compiled of. These are the reasons why they so robust and so ready. You know what I mean? You got the Maroons. And Maroons are like runaway slaves. You know what I'm saying? You got the pirates, and that's usually English, Dutch, and Spain. English, Dutch, and Spanish. Sometimes Portuguese because they was mad that they was still stuck over there. You know what I mean? Once Spain took over most of that shit, and the English started putting their dicks in there, you know what I mean? It was like they couldn't get around this, so they had to they gonna do something to get some money. Fuck it, like join the pirates, and and these Indians that was working for the English, because the English weren't going down there. After a certain amount of time, they conquered that area, or they just made a couple of deals and said, "Yo, you can get a piece of the pie too," and kind of screwed them over in the end. But the Moors were there. The Moors were there, and go ahead, tell me they weren't if you you know they went underground for a certain amount of time. And New Orleans, they kind of got away with a certain amount of shit. You know what I mean? You got, and I'm not picking New Orleans out of the hat. New Orleans was like sometimes free, sometimes slaverish, and the Moors wanted to see the New World. So there's like, you don't want to go to New Orleans, and I say, why not? You know what I mean? Like, these motherfuckers had money and all that shit, and they was wondering where they was getting the riches from. And one day, Spain went to Ghana and kind of got an idea of where the shit is. They was already in Egypt, but there was a certain amount of shit that the Muslims would not let them get their hands on, no matter how hard they tried. More kudos to them. You know what I mean? And they saw Ghana, and that became another slave port. You know what I mean? Then the slave trade was really going. That's when it became legit. The English people settled Gambia or whatever, and that's when that shit became legit. That was like 1640 and shit, 1700s. They didn't really master it until Willie Lynch came around from Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? After dealing with all that shit over there, and he's like, "Yo, I got a perfect way to do it. You tar and feather these niggas, hang him, and you set his ass on fire, and you get 2 horses to pull him, or in all 4 directions. Just that's where they got that picture. The thing that we're medical doctors. They see 2 hands going like this, 2 hands going like that, and the legs spread out. That's where they got that from. You know what I'm saying? That's it. What you're looking at is how they used to. But the thing is, they got that torture right from back in the days in England in the Dark Ages and stuff, because they had lots of different methods of torture for you to like say whatever you gotta. You know what I mean? They had stuff like that. You know what I mean? Especially in the Inquisition, when they was trying to get rid of the Moors. So, like, there's lots of different methods of torture that the Moors used to use, but I don't want to get into that. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into that. Then when the American Revolution happened, right? The English couldn't get the Moors' help. You think they didn't ask them? Come on, they couldn't get their help. Luckily, there was a couple of them in the Caribbean that settled in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, but like the Dominican Republic was still like shut down by Spain, and Spain wasn't tolerating the Moors anymore because they was losing money. You know what I mean? They was losing money, and they didn't know how to you know what I mean, recuperate, because they had all these slaves, but they didn't have any money. They had all this gold, but it's like these Indians that are living there outnumber the slaves and them. They've been shooting these guys for like forever, and they can't get rid of them. You know what I mean? They can't get rid of them. They go a little farther. They only was on that East Coast. You know what I'm saying? It was only on the East Coast of South America. They never really got to the West Coast as much as they wanted to. You know what I mean? There was a lot of Indians down there. And in Brazil, there was a lot of slaves. So, like, when I say slaves, there was a lot of, Africans from Ghana down there. And some of the places of the West Indies, they started to outnumber the slave masters and stuff. So, America, it was like everybody got free and everything, but they went back under slavery because that's just the way the South wanted to keep it. Everybody was supposed to be free after the first war, you know what I mean? But something happened where they said, nah, fuck that, we gotta keep bringing in these slaves because that's the way we've been doing it. And in the North, they was like, why can't these niggas do for themselves like we would? You know what I mean? We don't need no goddamn slaves. That's why the North, people forget about the North. You know what I mean? All these little black power dudes was like, yeah, man, they always had slaves. They always had slaves. Yeah, man, the North, I mean, they got pissed off every once in a while at niggas, but you know what? We was there, and so was the Moors. You know what I'm saying? So was the Moors. So let me see.